Okay, y'all, I have a confession to make. I've spent real years of my life trying to become a better version of myself. More organized, more optimized, more healed, more fit, more healthy, more purposeful. And somewhere in the chase, I realized that the chase itself was the thing draining me, not my calendar. It was the becoming. Today's guest wrote a whole book about this exact pain point. I mean, I run transformation programs for a living, and she's about to tell you to stop trying to transform. But stay with me, y'all. There's no contradiction here. There's actually a doorway. My guest today is Barbara Burgess, author, mother, executive, and in her words, not mine, an unapologetic dark chocolate lover. She founded Corluma, Core for Heart, Luma for Light, and it's a Chicago based consulting firm. She wrote and performed a one woman show called The Extraordinary Experience of Being Ordinary. And her first book is Enough: Finding Peace in a World of Distractions, Hustle, and Expectations. I am so honored to welcome Barbara to the MetaBusiness Millennial podcast. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you, Erin. I'm so delighted to be here and so excited about this.
Yes, me too. And it's just so perfect because our conversation just like coming into the podcast today was just like spot on for that intro and for welcoming you. And I just want to start with your business. You call it Corluma. And I would love for you just to share with folks listening here, what does that mean to you? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I think I was an accidental entrepreneur. Somebody had suggested it to me, and I had stereotypes about what you had to do to be that. And it was things
Right.
I didn't align with. But thankfully, a network of folks who are like, no, 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 you could do it your way. And so, like any entrepreneur was doing, I was thinking, what am I going to call this, piece or whatever? And there's so many people that sit on URLs that anything you think that makes sense has already been taken. But I really did kind of this deeper soul searching about what do I want this to be about? Like what really matters to me, at its center. And I wanted it to be an umbrella. I wanted it to be something that allowed, and I'm going to say, particularly, I think for women, we live in a society that sort of tries to define us too much.
Mm,
And what I realized is like, I don't know, like I'm a shapeshifter. I have no idea what I'm going to be next week. Like
that
I would love
part.
to have a tattoo. The only reason I don't have a tattoo is there's nothing I can commit to that I can promise you I'll be loving in a year from now, because it's like I'm always discovering myself. And so I was like, this has to be an umbrella for something. And then I thought, what really matters to me and what do I do? And it doesn't matter like if it's consulting, if it's coaching, if we're talking spirit, it doesn't matter if we're hanging out. For me, it is that heart space, like a heart focus, a
Mhm,
heart center.
mhm,
To me, that's where spirit and God lives. And so I'm not like that is going to be in my business. Right. And then
mhm.
the Luma aspect is like what I love to do. I love to solve things. I love to shine light on things. I love to bring truth to places, including myself. I love to bust myself on my own BS and habits and all those things. Right.
Yes.
And so it was really like these two pieces came together in a way that had just worked and clicked because it,
Mhm.
it gets at the essence of what matters to me. And what I love is, I'm 5 years in now, maybe more, and it still holds. I've done such
Mhm.
a hodgepodge of things, but it's still true because it's the essence and the core.
Yes. And even to me, just in my morning meditation, I always imagine like a beam of light shining from my heart. I'm always like, let my light shine from my heart. Like I am a unity of light, is like what I say. And so when you talk about like the heart light, the light of the heart, like that's exactly what our ray and our inner soul kind of, not necessarily the seat of the soul, but it certainly is a place where we really shine our light. So I think you're right. It's just so universal.
Well, and I think I teach a lot of emotional intelligence also, and we're so ignorant, like we keep discovering things, right? And so there's really amazing data and research showing that, we used to think that we kind of operate out of our head and then our head tells our body what to do. That's actually not true. That there
Exactly.
is a brain in the heart, but the heart also originates things and communicates them up to our head. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with our body. The
Mm-hmm.
more recently, I'm leading more into the body intelligence and sides just because of things I've experience myself, where my body knew something before my head knew.
Mhm.
And there's research about that, your body knows something 2 to 7 seconds before your head does. And so I
Mm.
think our whole orientation, again, for me growing up, it was about cognition, IQ. Can you intellectually figure something out? Well, that's not where my magic is. It's never been there. It's this knowing that I can't define and translate all the time, but I still know. It's the wisdom
Mm.
versus the knowledge, right? And
Mm.
so to me, it's honoring. And I do believe, like, the better we get with science, we'll be able to measure these things in a more meaningful way. I know, like, the
I
Heart Math
agree.
Society does some of that as well, but it's a
Mm.
powerful, powerful instrument.
It is, very much is. Okay, so you climb the corporate ladder, I
Mhm.
will walk through it for people who don't know your resume, but there's Nestle, there's Granger, the Merck, your COO. I wanna take I want you to have us take us back to the version of you who was still chasing and climbing this ladder, like, take us
Mm.
back there. What was she chasing for? Like, what was her reason d'être? What was her reason for this?
Yeah, yeah. Um, External validation.
Yeah.
I could put it under a number of categories, right? But really that sense of looking outside myself at its core to be okay, right? And I think this is true for all of us. Like, we all really hunger for that, but I was scrambling. It's like I even remember, so, I'm graduating college and they had company, I got Nestle from an on-campus interview. But I remember my sorts, like interviewing with all these different companies and things and thinking what would look good on the resume, right?
Yeah,
Not like, did I wanna be there? Could I add
yeah,
value? What would I discover and learn?
yes,
But would it look good on my resume? Like, that resume at that point in time was a piece of paper that would tell you if I'm important or not. It wasn't
yeah,
about me feeling important, it was about that piece of paper telling you.
yes.
But after that, it became about building that paper then. Everything, and again, we're no longer allowed to ask salary history, but at that day, you could. So it was like, was every job more money? And did every job look like I was taking something on more important, et cetera? But none of that had anything to do with me, right? And if you played it like if we were living in my body at the time, it was empty, scrambling. You couldn't even rest in a victory because there was always somebody doing it better. There's always someone thinner, cuter, wealthier, all this kind of stuff. And so, what it was like this constant, jittery sort of never really present in my body moment,
Mm,
never really getting to exist because I'm so scrambling to be important, right? By all these other measures. And you can't ever, you're never going to win all those games anyway. They're games and you're never going to win them all. And so that you're
right,
always, oh, I guess is always not enough, right? You're always in the space of, somewhere I don't measure up. And
right.
so, you know, I didn't understand how much my decades of my life have been about like living in an unsettled nervous system. I literally didn't know that till the last like couple of years. And it's
Yes,
sort of blow away to me that that's even an option, that you don't
right,
have to.
right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
And I love that you named that because, I was totally that too. And particularly, I mean, I went to Harvard. I have 2 masters from Harvard. Like everything I actually got turned down by Harvard and got into Columbia for grad school, but then wanted to reapply because I just felt like Columbia wasn't even good enough for that piece of
You
paper.
need that Harvard name.
I needed that Harvard. And it is hilarious to me now, just who I am today. Like most people that meet me probably don't even think I graduated college.
Which takes the pressure off at a
Yeah,
level.
yeah. But it's just how badly I needed it then
Yes.
and how useless it is today. And
Yes.
not to
Oh,
say it's
yes.
useless, but it certainly doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
And, I just and to that point about the nervous system too, I think we get so, the comfortable in this uncomfortable space. Like,
Ugh.
it is actually more
Wait, we
comfortable
have
for
to
people.
pause and triple under. Amen. We get comfortable in this uncomfortable space. Like, hello, mic drop. That was like I became familiar with what was not good for me, and
Yes.
familiar felt better than new, even if new was better.
Yeah. Exactly. And we people fear that which is new and likely safer for them and rebel against it and tarnish it and taint it because it doesn't have that chaotic, fear-based frequency.
Yeah.
And so and yeah, and of course I had my lessons in that too.
Mhm. I feel like I'm still a baby in the other world, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
because it has been the last couple of years. What's interesting is like, and I don't know if you feel this too, but sometimes you just catch yourself almost like the temptation of that or a thought pattern that will go there. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Now that
Mm,
feels unfamiliar. That feels weird to be like
mhm,
defining myself that way. But
mhm.
you get into certain spaces, particularly if you're energetically sensitive, right? That you can walk into a room and like, oh, these are all those people in that mode. Like,
Yes.
ooh, I don't enjoy
Belong
this.
here.
I don't belong here. These aren't my people in space. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It's
Yeah.
just I no longer allow myself to be in the spaces that don't nourish me at this
Yes.
different level, right? Like if
Yes.
you're coming at me with your elevator pitch, like, oh, I'm probably walking away. Not that I don't
Mhm.
want to discover who you are, et cetera. But if I can feel that competitive kind of here's where I climbed, I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
yuck.
Yeah. Yes. And I really want you to talk about avoiding the seduction of self-improvement.
Mhm.
And actually this is kind of like the theme of today's podcast is
Mhm.
the seduction of self-improvement. Like that's how we started literally before we even hit record.
Yes.
Seduction is very strong word. Of course, it has like the sexual,
Mhm.
intimate connotations, but
Mhm.
it is so real as it relates to the self-improvement, I would say industry that we
Yes.
live in today.
Billion-dollar industry, yes.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so, why is the urge to fix ourselves always on top or like, sorry, always a trap, excuse me.
Yeah.
And why is it not like a virtue?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, first of all, and I just love what you said at the beginning too. Like I'm someone who teaches transformation workshops, but
Yeah.
it isn't contradictory, and we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
just for my own, awful credibility, I worked for a self-improvement organization for 22 years,
Yes.
right? And that I would now look at and call a cult. I mean, if I look back and characterize it appropriately for what it is, right? Because so it's not like I'm somebody who's, doesn't believe in theories and ideas and things that can benefit us and contribute to our lives. But what I discovered for myself is that was just one more flavor of what we were just talking about,
Right.
right? And I didn't understand when I was in it how incredibly disempowering it was in the framework that I was approaching it in. So just like, oh gosh, got to get that Harvard degree, got to get the next thing, got to get the bigger paycheck, et cetera. It's like, I got to get more conscious. I got to get more present. I got to get more spiritual. I got to float. I got to, I got to do the yoga. I got to have the best meditation. And if, oh my God, I might be in a personal, improvement class and we're both meditating and I'm thinking, oh, they're probably doing it better than I am. Oh, and they just shared something that was far more spiritual. I mean, it's the same thing. It is that same unsettled nervous system, right? And when you get right down to the core of it, like I'm going to go to my spiritual beliefs right now, like I don't think that's what God, love, life force, whatever you're going to call it, cares about.
That
I don't
part.
think they're gonna be like, "Hey," end of days, we're, meeting at the pearly gates, if you'd believe in that. "Hey, good job on that meditation. Boy, you levitated. We're gonna high 10 you. Check. You get an A plus." Like, I don't think at all. Because my purported beliefs are that we're loved no matter what. We're loved exactly how we are. We loved exactly in the space that we're in. Well, if we are, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I running so fast to prove myself?
Yes.
Again, but proving myself through a self-improvement lens, right?
Mhm.
And so to me, it's it's just the same as career in the sense that it doesn't ever mean you don't explore things or discover things or take a class or read a book. I still do that. I do it constantly. I do it because I love to learn. I do it
Mhm.
because I love learning about myself. I love that discovery. I love meeting people through their insights and things like that. But that's different than a need to improve myself, right? And
Mhm.
I think about these like, can we live with the mature cognitive dissonance of, I want to keep modifying, discovering, exploring, and I don't need to do it at all, right? Like these things can coexist. These two things can be true. I
Yeah.
get I get to go lose weight and be muscle bound and kick ass and do a back bend at 85. I get to do that. If that feels like that would bring me joy and delight and things like that. But I don't have to because all the other 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds are all of a sudden improving, right? And
Mhm.
I think it's such a big distinction that we never pause on. And if we're not
Yeah.
careful about it, we are just feeding the beast, you know?
Yes.
And that's where I feel, and you can feel it. And I know because of the industry you've had the same experience. So, I traveled around the country with an author for a while who was, was back in the 2000s, early 2000s, who was in that field. And so some of these big names and stuff you'd meet. And I would go, you'd meet some big author that you've always looked up to, read a book. And then I'm like, why do I feel like I need to take a shower right now? Why do I feel disgusted, repulsed by this person? Right. And because this is not someone who at their core is discovering, sharing, loving, all that kind of stuff. This is someone who is in the industry of personal development
Mhm.
and almost could use those things to be emotionally manipulative, contriving, all those kinds of things. Right.
Yes.
So, wherever we are, there we are. It's not like, oh, the good people are in the health and wellness industry and the bad people are in corporate greed. No, 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 no. We're all everywhere. And so for me, it can be just as much of a trap. It can be the thing that sucks you in, no different if you don't pause to say, what's my driver here? Who is the me that's exploring this? And this is like a constant dialogue in my head, even today. Like, wait a minute. Like yesterday, I was picking out an outfit to wear. And I was like, are you picking this out because of the friend you're going to go see? Like, girlfriend of mine who always dresses impeccably, has high fashion, all that kind of stuff. Or does this feel delightful to put on your body? Like, I was in the habit of dressing to match the person I'm going to meet. And then I stopped, paused, and picked something else. But it's like, is it coming from my true, unique delight, fingerprint, joy, which is what I believe God, life force created us to be here with, right? I'm not supposed to be like anybody else. So then why am I comparing myself to everybody else, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I think we're kind of blind thinking that personal growth, personal development can't be just like one of those other things. Like you got to watch it. Like, what are you doing it and why? And I'll say, repeating I thought I thought my job was then to be more conscious, not make more money. Like, no, that's not my job. My job's just to be,
Mhm.
period, full
Yes.
stop, end
Yes.
of sentence.
I
With all
love
the mess, with all the chaos, with all my imperfections, with all the stupid stuff I do, with the beautiful stuff I do. That's it, which is disturbing to that old gal who knew how to operate by chasing.
Yes. And honestly, I resonate so much with everything you share because it's like, yes, you can be pursuing it all, and at the same time, as Jesus would say, you need not do nothing, or
Yes.
scripture would say, need not do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, this space that we shared before, kind of like I'm moving into and very actually uncomfortable in needing not doing
Yes.
nothing.
Yes.
And that is the space of surrender. That is the space that where God really wants to hold us and nurture us and give to us. Yeah, we just aren't used to receiving because we're used to having to perform and shuck and jive and kiss
Yes.
ass
And earn
for
that thing we get, not just receive it, earn it.
earn it and work hard for it.
Yeah.
And, God forbid, other people killing for it,
Yes.
and it is so acceptable
Yeah.
to have that kind of mentality to kill it. That is
Yeah.
literally a phrase, is to go out there and kill it.
Yeah.
And people don't even realize what they're saying.
Yeah. I'm just now, as you're talking, I'm going through, it's like killed it, crushed it, da da da. It's all these like
Yes.
destructive sort of ways of looking
Yes.
at success. It's like a
Yes.
lens of success that actually causes harm, as if
Literally,
that's what we should
literally,
aspire to.
literally.
Yeah.
Killing is the ultimate harm.
Yeah.
And like, all that to say that self-improvement certainly can be a trap in that way. And what we're arcing towards and what this platform is about is really just shining a light. And there's always like, I always like to caveat, this is a no judgment zone. We are here to just explore where we're at, where people are, where the collective is, and how we can just do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
and I think to that point, like, at least for me and my values evolve over time, but more and more it's like it's really about keeping that integrity with myself.
Mhm.
Right? It is not to what you even just said, it's not mine to judge, point fingers, etc. There are so many
Right.
things I have judged in my life until I was in that situation and I thought, "Dang
Mhm.
girl, you were wrong. You were
Right.
just wrong and you were
Yeah, but it's
standing
even
up
about the
there."
no judgment of self too, and I wanna
Mhm.
be clear about that because that's where the judgment starts.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think to this point, I was talking with you before we got on about this walk I took, uh, and one of the things that was coming to me just about what you were saying about that space of the discomfort of receiving almost, right? What I was recognizing in my little God chat was, and what was coming was kind of like, listen, the vacuum is a beautiful thing. Like right now, there's places and spaces in my life where there's an emptiness and an openness. And my old habit was to fill that, right?
Yeah.
To fill that with, again, it could have been a career achievement early on. Later on, it would have been a personal growth of achievement. And I was just being with God in the space that I'm uncomfortable being in this open field, this undefined thing, right? And again, the words that kept coming were like, the vacuum's beautiful because without it, we can't attract in. Without it, we don't have that pull for what could be, right? When
Mhm.
everything's cluttered, then it's just rinse and repeating the same way we've always been. And I
Mhm.
woke up with that this morning because I don't know if you ever have this happen, but sometimes you wake up and it's not just like, wait, what day is it? It's like, who am I and what reality am I in? That was today. And I was like, wait, who am I? And I caught my glance in the mirror and I literally had this thought inside my head that was like, no, like that's not quite right. And not in a judgy way at all. There was no like criticism about it at all. It was more like, I am an open space that gets to discover herself. So let's not look at that and start having a dialogue about and where we define ourselves. Like before the day started, we've defined ourselves. My mom used to say, like, she'd have these buckets of measurement. Like as soon as she woke up, like, am I healthy? Am I this? Am I that? Like you're measuring in each of the buckets, but it almost
Mm.
defines us before we've even gotten out of bed. And
Mm.
today my no resistance was like, we're just going to be in the open spaces. We're gonna be in that discomfort of no clue who I am, no clue
Yeah.
how I'm showing up, no
Yeah.
clue, and see what that's like.
Yes. I love that. Okay, so let's get to the turn. The reconciliation is what I call it. So name the tension out loud. I build containers that help women expand. We shared that. You wrote a book that says that you're already enough. To a listener, those sound like opposites.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and weave that together and help them understand
Oh, and I
the tension
love.
here, the contradiction here.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go back to your phrase because I think it's stunning, beautiful, and it actually to me, it represents enough, right? So it's I build containers that help women expand. That's what I
Mhm.
heard, right?
Mhm.
Like, that is holding the space of enoughness to me. Like, you
Mhm.
couldn't I wanna cry. You couldn't get a better definition, I think, because you're not saying, "I help women be a size 6, achieve 500,000 da 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 da." Now, they may come to those things.
Mhm.
Those may be a natural result of these containers, but that container says in and of itself that we are enough, right?
Mhm.
And I don't think we have enough people in our lives who will hold that for us. And a quick example of this is I have friends that we just leave messages back and forth because we have busy lives and that's how we kind of keep up. And one of the friends I had said yesterday, I said, I'm just in a new space of loneliness. And it's because, I have lots of friends based on my past history that don't fit in the same way anymore. And yet I'm not in a space where I'm yet with that new discovery, new tribe. And she meant this very well, but in her message back was giving me advice about how to meet people and all these kinds of things. And there's nothing wrong with that, except no, that's not what I was actually saying. I just what I know how to meet people, and I don't have any doubt that I could go do that right now and go build a tribe if I wanted. What I was trying to express is in this container right now, like what I am holding for myself is loneliness, and I want and get to be there. I don't have to be in the friends plate. Like I am enough in this moment of holding this, right? Which
Mhm.
is, from my understanding, that's what you do for a living.
Mhm.
You meet women and you say, "This is glorious.
Mhm.
Now, what would this love to do? How would this love
Mhm.
to play? What does that get to look like?" And to
Mhm.
me, that's an inviting out of enough. That is a
Mhm.
calling forth from our deepest spaces. Like, if I'm already okay, then all the possibilities are open to me. right?
Mhm.
If I'm not okay and I'm not enough, then you have to give me the prescription and formula that matches yours so that we can be alike and we can both do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
not enough formula. We're all
Yeah.
supposed to live in a certain way, wear certain clothes, achieve a certain level of income, etc.
Mhm.
That's not enough, right?
Mm.
But when I say to you, here's the container of you, you wonderful, gorgeous goddess person, and I'm going to hold it while you step out. I'm going to hold these walls, right? And I say that like I'm going to go back to that there's a that research example of if you build a playground and you don't put fencing around it, all the kids will hang out in the middle tightly together. If you put a fence, they'll explore the whole playground. They'll use
Okay.
every part of it. And so I think about that like without the container,
Yeah.
right? Without that container of these boundaries, I'm
Yes.
just gonna stay tightly in my little cave. I'm gonna stay in this little
Yeah.
seed and say, "This is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am." But if you give me a playground and say, "Hey, it's all safe. You can come explore," then I get to try kickball over here. "Oh, I hate that. I'm gonna try foursquare. I'm gonna do double dutch. I'm gonna"
Yeah.
like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, right? And
Right.
so to me, and this is where, when I say that personal growth is a problem, I don't mean you growing personally is a problem. I think it's freaking fantastic. I think it's wonderful. It's just not meant to be a thing to achieve so that I'm enough,
Right.
right? And it even goes back to your place on self-criticism. Like, no, it's just wiping that clean. Not necessary at all.
Mhm.
And the phrase that I've been using for myself in this last couple of years is I get to, you know? I get to lose weight, I get to be fat. I get to dress colorfully, I get to dress bland. I get
Yeah.
to go swimming, I get to say I'm going to sit out and read my book. I just get to, right?
Right.
And I think that's the place where then the true discovery happens. So it's not the discovery that's a problem. It's not the growing that's a problem. It's the achieving because.
Yes. And I just think that's so beautiful because a lot of women need to hear that. And I love even just the framing of just enough. And it's just enough,
Yeah.
And I think to the whole kind of I would say the arc of this conversation has been around how do we set those boundaries to your point about the playground, which I thought was a beautiful analogy for ourselves. So that if you say you're in this container with me, amazing. But if you're not having the opportunity to be in these formal environments, how do I set these healthy boundaries for myself to expand, to explore, to nourish myself, to improve, and then not go too far with it or not contract too much. And so I think that finding that kind of that balance of enoughness and like what is enough, like how you share with going for the walk, like, do I get my 10,000 steps today? What does my body say? Listening to myself, yes or no,
Yeah.
and knowing that I still have tomorrow to reach my goals and listening to that voice within. So I really, really resonate with what you're sharing.
Well, and I want to say a few things to what you were just saying about because really it is boundaries, right?
Mhm.
And I write about that in the book a lot, at least from my journey and my perspective on it. And I just want to name because listeners, you probably heard it, but Erin set a beautiful boundary with me like a second ago when I was almost getting a little self critical, and she just swooped in next to me and was like, "But we're not going there." It was like such a beautiful invitation, right? Like this is what someone who cares about you and not doing harm to yourself does for you. So like we can set
Right.
them for ourselves. We can surround ourselves with people who have our back. Like I felt
Agreed.
like that was you having my back in that moment. Like,
Aw.
nope. And so, but that boundary setting I think is really, really big. And it was something I did not have much muscle in at all.
Mhm.
People thought I did because I was assertive or a strong woman or whatever that stereotype is,
Yeah.
but no, that was just another version of me giving myself over for other folks. And I think, you know, the blessing and challenge of this is it really is tuning into the inside, like at its core, because no one can tell me. Somebody can watch for me like you just did and invite me into that. Wait, hey, pause there, girl, for a second. Did you want to go there? No, I did not. And but it's my journey to be with me enough to sort out what that looks like, right? And
Yeah.
so part of the conversation, about like I'll even go to this friend's example is what spaces do I want to be in, right? And so I have friends I've had for a long time, but now with where I'm at right now, that doesn't necessarily add to me. In
That
fact, it
part.
can pull from me.
Yes.
So part of the boundary is I'm not going to go to that event. There was an event I got invited to recently that I wanted to celebrate the person, but the whole rest of the crew that was going to be there, I knew exactly what the script was going to be, and it would not have filled me up. It would have drained me, and I turned it down. And I reached out to my friend and I said to him, "Hey, by the way, I'd love to go to coffee with you. I'd love to celebrate this milestone with you, et cetera. It's just not a good fit for me given the group of blah, blah, blah." And he knows me well. And he's like, "Thanks so much for that." So, like, that was a boundary. I'm not going to that event that just because everybody's going, but I will celebrate you because you matter to me. And
Mhm.
and that's all from that internal GPS, right? Really tuning
Mhm.
into like that compass and what's it telling me. And I think that what's it telling me, part of it is heart. It is our body sensations. Like I met with this African healer, such a beautiful man, Malidoma, who's passed, Patrice Malidoma, back in 2019. And I remember him saying to me, he says, you tend to notice all the little things that are off. Like if something's off, you can just sense it. But he said the way that you'll know what's true is by the meter of your heart. And I
Mm.
thought, gosh, what a beautiful thing. And I really couldn't appreciate it until the last year. Like I saved that recording and I listen to it often, but the meter of my heart will tell me if what I'm riding with is for me or not.
I love
And
that.
I feel like that's the divine connection. Like when I'm
Yes.
with me and I'm with God, then I know, and it may make no sense to anybody. And part of this enoughness is I don't have to explain it. I gave that person a reason just because I want to meet with them, but I don't have to. I could just say
Mhm.
no, thank you. Right.
Yeah.
And so in the book, I talk about, big no's and small no's and making these boundaries. And sometimes the small no's are harder than the big no's. Like the big no's are like, oh, someone violated my, ethics and morals. It's easier to be like, I will not talk to you again, right? That's easier. But what about somebody invites you to a fundraiser and it's a free ticket and you should go because you're free, but you don't want to go? Like, so do you get to say the small no's? No. Or, you have a group of friends that you meet with regularly and you just decide that's not for me this quarter. Do you get to say no, or are we too worried about saving face? Or somebody gives you a free thing, right? Like I used to hang on to so many free things, because somebody gave it to me. So you should, because it was a gift. And I'm like, that's not meant for me. So I get to release it without guilt or shame, right?
Yeah.
Because I think otherwise our lives, our calendars, our time, our energy gets filled with everybody else's requests
Yes.
versus these small and big boundaries of no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, yes, oh no. And I get to change my mind also. I get to, say I'm not going and at the last minute just pop in the car.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the piece of it, like, that's what we need muscle in, right? And I think when again, we'll go back to the personal growth, when you can meet someone in the personal growth field who can help you do that, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think back to a coach I had who helped me. He would help me come to certain conclusions, and we were so different. He was like an East Coast analytical, like, I'm a heart-based, Midwestern feeling everything kinda gal. But that served me so much at that moment because that's where, some of the decisions he helped me facilitate for myself, right, are things like I get to know what I know, you know? And so it's like there's things that that people might gaslight you about and you never can prove, but I get to know that I know that, right?
Yeah.
So from a growth perspective, like I don't need to keep doing classes with him till I'm dead, but did that really serve me in, establishing these things that work for my own self in the boundaries? Yes, they do, right?
Mhm.
So that's to me the beautiful, fun, joyous work. And you bounce up against people who may or may not align with that, and you get to make that call,
I
right?
love that. Yes. I mean, and I'm gonna get to the lightning round to ask you some quick
Yeah,
questions,
yep,
but I just wanna respond to what you were saying, particularly about the heart meter, because that really connects all the way back to how we were talking about Corluma and being able to tap into that light of the heart and being able to tap into yourself and being able to listen to your body. And I think that if we can just do more of that, then it'll
yeah,
be easier for us to say those little no's or even those big no's or those maybe laters.
yeah.
And that is nothing more than the honoring of the self and the honoring of the heart. So I just am so glad that you brought that up for our
Well, and
listeners.
by the way, there's very like even though I'm visionary in what I think for myself and others, I'm practical. Like, so to me, I go to an event. Did I feel better or worse after? Boom.
Mhm.
It can be pretty easy that way. "Oh, I felt super drained." All right, was it
Oh,
because I was with somebody or was it the event itself? Like, we can
oh,
ask ourselves some things to practice, to
mhm,
your point, tuning into
mhm.
that.
Yes, yes, 100%. Okay, now we're gonna get to the lightning
Yep,
round for closing.
yep.
So, dark chocolate or nothing?
Yes, dark chocolate all day long, because otherwise, I'm uninterested.
Okay.
Uninterested. Everything else is a waste of time.
A waste of time, okay? Alright, so what's the last small no you said?
It was literally that email to that guy, which was yesterday,
Oh,
to his event. Yeah, it
okay.
was, I'm not going.
Wha
It
What
was
a perfect
yesterday.
question, I didn't even know this, okay?
Uh,
Okay, enough in one breath. What does it feel like in the body?
uh, a deep sigh,
Ooh,
like a big old exhale.
just like that.
You're like, "Here I am."
That's what it feels like, y'all. Okay, if a woman is listening right now, she's exhausted from trying to become,
Mhm.
the one shift you give her to execute, like, right now.
Um, Boy, that's a tough one, and I'll tell you why I struggle with that one is I don't wanna provide another to-do, and so what I would say is go inside and say, "What would most delight, serve, nourish me right this second?" And do it and be unapologetic about it, whatever it is.
I love
Doesn't
that.
have to be logical at all.
Yes.
Could be
No.
binge watching something, I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. Oh god, that was so good. Okay. Well, I am gonna, wrap this up, but this was such a fantastic conversation, Barbara. Thank you so much for your time. I really would love for you just to share with our listeners, where they can find you, how they can work with you or get your book and, find you on social media if you're
Yeah, great. My website has, most information about me. It's corluma.com, corluma.com. And the book, it's Enough by Barbara Burgess. It's on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, all those kinds of things. You do have to put my name in because there's a lot of books about enough that have all different meanings. But yeah, between the website and there, plenty of spaces to find me.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, again, this was just such a fantastic conversation. There's just so many opportunities for women and men to learn about how to hold space for their growth in a way that's healthy and happy, and most importantly, nourishing. And for all of you who are listening and you made it this far and you tune into the MetaBusiness Millennial podcast and you want to learn more about me and my programs, I offer, again, transformational containers for women to expand, including my Divine Alignment mentorship. And you can learn more about my programs at my website, erinpatten.com. And I am just, again, so honored to have you, Barbara, on the show. Thank
Can
you.
I put in one more plug here?
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
just gonna say for all of your listeners, so I do a lot of podcasts, and Erin is holding that container for me even as I'm in this interview, and I can feel it. So I don't know enough details about what programs and what you should do with her, but it has felt like a gift to be held in this space, and so sign up for her stuff. There we go.
Yes. Well, I couldn't have asked for a better testimonial, you guys. I didn't even ask her. She just gave it. But yes, this is a safe space. And I know our listeners come here because it's a safe space. And we want to create more of these spaces, not only here, but in our world. And that's the whole ethos behind my business, the meta business world. And this is just the beginning, y'all. It feels like we're in the middle of the
Yeah.
well,
Something's happening.
yeah, but we know that this world is changing, and we are here for the ride, or else we would have been gone by now.
Amen.
All right, you guys. Well, I just want to wish you so much love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.